Welcome to the Next Boots podcast, everyone. I'm Tate Doolittle. Very excited to be here and to be kicking off a new segment. This new segment, I'm going to sit down and talk to you guys, talk to customers about your boots, the stories that your boots can tell, and how you're using them in everyday life. So today, I'm super excited to have Alex on the show. We're going to hear a little bit more about how he used his boots in his wedding, but beyond that, really how he's incorporated that whole ethos into how his current farm and operation is running. So Alex, great to have you here. Why don't you say a quick hello and introduce yourself?
Hey there, everybody. My name is Alexander Amon. I'm the owner of Everlasting Ranch with my wife. We live in northern Minnesota in a town called Red Lake. I am a firefighter on the Alaska Township fire team. And this last August, my wife and I, we got married on our ranch, on our land. And so we wanted to kind of embody different things that would stand the test of time, be robust, be sturdy, and kind of create the parts of our relationship that we wanted to embody. And so we wanted to have a footwear that resembled the land and that was going to last a long time. And that's something that's not super common anymore, to be able to find something that's sturdy, that's US made, that's going to be able to stand up to the abuse of life on the ranch. And so where we live is historically a logging community, and it's in what they call the dark forest, which it had some of the tallest red pines in the country. And so historically, a lot of the early industrial times lumber was coming from northern Minnesota. And so when we're looking for ways to connect the land, we're always looking at the history, and we found ourselves with the logger boots, which is very pertinent to where we live in our lifestyle. This is also a wildland fire boot with the red X, which in another way kind of connect into my lifestyle and where my wife and I live. And so basically we live on kind of like a transition zone between would be forest fires and where it turns into the grasslands, which is wildland fires, as well as structure fires for our little township fire hall. When we were reaching out kind of on a whim to Nick's Boots, I personally had never heard of anybody getting their wedding sponsored by a boot company, but the long and short of it is we're able to, with the help of Nick's, we're able to get our whole wedding party's footwear to be this wildland firefighter Nick logger boots. We might see some of like the pictures, or I don't know how you guys might edit this, but our whole wedding party ended up with these boots. And so we looked really uniform, looked real good. And so being that my wife and I own a videography company, the exchange with Nick's was that we were going to produce basically photos and video promotional content, very like lifestyle based type boot content. And so we're out in the wildland flowers. We're standing beneath like our wild our rough cut beams that we got married underneath, riding around on the back of the side by side, and the hay bales and the trailer. Lots of kind of like lifestyle based content. And so that's kind of how Everlasting Ranch's relationship with Nick's Boots, that's how we got here, right?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's a great story. when I was thinking about this podcast segment and starting to look for stories and just asking around the office, factory, saying, "Hey, who's heard of a great story?" You were one of the first that I heard about, and everyone said, "Man, we got great content from it. The wedding party looked incredible. The topography, just the landscape is gorgeous." And I'll even say, when I was looking at it, it reminds me a lot of the Pacific Northwest to some degree, just the scale at which these forests visually stunning. So it was really interesting. You came up early, and a really cool story of us partnering together, and lots of other interesting overlap. I want to talk in a minute about some of your firefighting experience, but let's take a step back for a moment. So you guys knew that you wanted this concept. You built your whole ranch around this idea that these are things that are going to last for a lifetime. How do you go from we want things that last a lifetime to finding next boots? I think if I recall, there was another boot purchase in between there. We don't have to talk specifics, but you got it in hand and said, "This isn't what we're looking for." How'd you land on next?
So, like every wedding, there's a large portion of discussion with the significant other about what will the wedding party wear? What are we going to wear? What's the color scheme going to be? And we started doing this pretty early on. And a pair of boots showed up in the mail from Amazon, and it was made in, I think, China, and it most likely probably some child labor maybe involved. And I looked at the boot, and I was like, "This is not what our love is going to be based off. This is not what our wedding is going to be built off. We want it to be something that's sturdy, that is robust, something that's buildable from just like kind of what our marriage and our wedding is trying to embody." Yep. On the boot, you'll see our brand. This is the brand for our ranch. This is the Pearly Everlasting flower. Basically, it's a wild flower that grows here on the ranch. And it's historically, it's an indigenous medicine that is smoked, that is put into like what they call tobacco mixes.
Okay.
And specifically, it'd be the Red Lake Ojibwe people that are known to have used this. And we wanted to build our ranch name around something that exists here, something that marks it as a place, something that, almost like paying homage to the people that owned this land before us. And so it's a basically like a shield, and it's the flower. It's really simple.
That's awesome.
And it's kind of we wanted to kind of say that we are protecting the flower, protecting the land. And so we sent those Amazon boots back right away, and we asked ourselves, what are our options? How can we get something that's sturdy, that's going to last? Something with deep, heavy-duty stitching, something that we can walk across the control burn that we're doing in our backyard, something that is going to stand the test of time. And we found ourselves on the phone with Nick's Boots, and here we are.
Yeah.
Pretty frequently, we're in a fire danger where we are right now as the snow is melting and the wind is ripping.
Yeah.
So basically, being prepared is something that's really important for us here where we.
Yeah, that's awesome. We chatted before when I first met you, and I think I was telling the story as well that Shyler built boots for my wedding, and a beautiful pair of Packers. People have heard about them before in other forums, and love the boots. They're incredible, and I babied them for a while and just thought these are going to be my perfect boots. And now I find I wear them all the time. They're on the road with me when we're out in the woods and doing different things. That boot is starting to show all that great character, and it's similar to your story. When I put them on, I remember the best day of my life, and it's a neat story that then I get to carry into other aspects of my day. I think is a really interesting choice that you guys made, and certainly one that resonates with me for such a special moment. But I also want to chat about your experience as a wildland firefighter. You're in a pretty unique area for that. Like you said, you're covering everything from wildland to structural. You're in a small um, local area. Tell me a little bit about that, what it looks like for you, and why your experience helped you in that situation.
Yeah. So where we're located is on the edge of the Red Lake Reservation. It's a volunteer firefighter department called the Alaska Volunteer Firefighters. That's the township in Minnesota that we're in.
Okay. And no confusion there with the other Alaska.
And essentially, we are in the middle of nowhere, and we are the only first responders for a long ways. Like probably about a good half hour. If somebody were to call 911 and have asked for the police to come to their house, it'd probably be a good half hour. And so being prepared is essential. Being that we are the entity that would show up if there is a fire, we need to be prepared. We can't rely on anybody else. And so combating wildland firefighters, when we're combating wildland fires, basically we have to have the right equipment to be out there. And so I've been an advocate for getting more and more of my guys to wear these Nix boots. So I'm out there rocking these, basically the loggers with the red X. Yeah, and it allows us to operate safely, to be able to move across basically smoldering ground. And more and more, I have other firefighters hopping on the bandwagon, because you can't just have any old boot out there when you're literally walking across smoldering grass for the whole day.
Yeah.
And these boots, they hold up. I've put them to the test. I've abused them hard, and as long as you keep them lubed up, they're gonna keep hanging with you.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier too, on your own homestead, whether it's homestead or probably I would think with the fire department as well, you're managing controlled burns and other things like that. So part of that preparedness as well is just taking care of the home front, and your boots are showing up there as well.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, last couple of questions here. I know your wedding party, you mentioned to me, this was their first exposure, many of them, to this boot. So that was probably a fairly a new but pretty fun experience for them. I think you said a couple of them even ended up purchasing a pair of Nix boots that fit their application in the long run. Certainly, this can be an intimidating space to step into. If you're used to something else, there's just a lot of options. There's a lot of different, you've got a fire rated boot, you've got different leathers. What's your general advice to a buyer, someone who just says, I think I want to dip my toe into this? What was your experience, and what can you tell the next guy?
I'm 29 years old. A lot of my generation and people my age, we have probably lived most all of our life buying footwear that only lasts a year or a season. A lot of it's made overseas. A lot of it's getting made cheaper and cheaper. To expose yourself to a piece of quality, a slab of leather, it's actually a small culture shock to get used to it. But to be able to maintain a boot, to give it leather treatment, to just be able to have something that's going to last longer is a mindset change. And so I knew that I wanted to have our wedding party just exposed to this while my wife and I were exposing ourselves to a pair of Nix. It took a little bit of, extra encouragement. So I was calling all my guys, all my bachelors, and reminding them, hey, you got to wear these boots for like a week before the wedding. Like, you got to break them in, because I don't want you to be limping around the whole wedding. Because there is a break-in period. It's something that, we all have to expose ourselves to. in order to have a functioning piece of leather on our foot. And so, texting the guys, calling the guys, saying, "Hey, I need you to put them on today. I know you haven't put them on yet. Put them on," because it is. If we want to have something of quality on our foot, and we have to live slightly different, we have to break it, and we have to think about maintenance. And so, so after exposing my guys to this, after them wearing it, throughout their daily life, up to the wedding, and then also wearing it throughout the whole wedding. Well, at the end of it, the agreement was to send the boots back to Nick's, and so we did. And then, but some of my guys reached out to me and they're asking, "Hey, where do we get those? Where do we find these boots? I'm thinking about getting me, a pair." Some of my guys, they're like first time home buyers. They're doing more work around the yard. Some of my guys are in the heart of the city in Minneapolis, but they want to have, something that looks nice, that performs well. In my opinion, having a nice piece of leather on your foot, you can wear that for literally any occasion. Like, it doesn't have to be just, logging or, being involved in fires. You can wear this in the heart of the city and look respectable. One of my favorite things is, I think it sets it apart, but the, what do we call these again here?
It's debatable, heavily debated. Is it a false tongue or is it a kiltie? Both are
Kiltie.
Yeah, I'm a kiltie guy myself.
Yeah, I'm a kiltie guy. All my wedding party, and the ladies wore the kilties, and awesome. I think it sets it apart from your standard work boot, and it adds a little bit of flair, and I think it looks kind of dressy, nice.
Yeah, it does, man. I mean, I talk about that all the time. You can wear these up, you can wear them down. You can also, I talk about that a lot, how you can wear a work boot in a little bit more formal setting. You can do the inverse too. You can still go out there and do a lot of work in your Roberts if you want to. That's one of the beauties of the boots. The other thing too, going back to something you said earlier, kind of that idea of culture shock. I think you bring up an interesting point, kind of our generation, where we sit today. I started in a Red Wing, mock toe, wore out the crepe sole very quickly, work in construction. Then I'd moved to Seattle, and downtown Seattle, I finally bought, a nice boot. Well, this nice boot had a leather sole. It's wet. 6-8 months later, there's nothing left on it. And I'm getting used to this idea of taking care of things and kind of being a good steward of those things and trying to make them last. So I go to get this, what felt to me like an expensive boot at the time, resold. Well, that resole cost more than I think the initial boot cost. And I still have that boot today. And, the resole wasn't perfect. It was very hard to find a cobbler. I had to drive across town. It was very hard for me to do the thing that I wanted to do, which was to buy a pair of boots for life. And so even though Nick's is, maybe the buying experience is not as easy as what we're used to, it's actually kind of the easy button as well. Because it's like, look, you got a Builder Pro, wear it till it falls apart, and then call us and we'll rebuild it. You just send it back to us. We rebuild it. You got more or less a new pair of boots at that point. So, to the first time buyer, don't let it be too intimidating. It's a lot of fun. We're here to help. Call us, call customer service, send us an email. It's exactly what you guys did. You had to figure out sizing for an entire wedding party, which I'm sure was a total nightmare, but it's doable. It is not as scary as it seems. Last question I've got for you. It sounds like you've already got 2 pairs of Nicks. We saw one today. You've got one on your feet. Are you looking for another boot? Is there something out there that's interesting to you, or do you have the bases covered with what you currently have?
My wife and I have the same matching logger, wildland firefighter, mixed boot. Right now, it's my everything boot, and it's my focus on learning maintenance and keeping it clean and working well. We're also focusing on minimalism in the sense of my wife doesn't want me to have a million pairs of boots in the closet, because we got all 4 seasons here in Minnesota, and we got every season in between. And so I'm trying to respect her wishes. And so I tried to get a boot that was going to do everything. So this is actually also has the it's like the impregnated waterproofing
Weather shield.
in it. Yeah, the weather shield. And so I tried to get something that was really going to reduce my my boot print in the closet. And so also kind of as a steward to the land and the generational change is, yeah, maybe there's an upfront cost of a high quality boot that maybe is more expensive than the burner throw it away boot after the year. But over long run, it actually is a money saving. It is a cash saving because over the course of 2 years or 3, depending on the use, for 2 years, every 2 years, I'd probably buy a new boot, a boot to wear in the field. But now I've changed that with an upfront investment, to buy a high quality boot. But I think this is going to last a really long time for me. So maybe our generation is the throwaway culture, but we have to switch away from that. Like if there's going to be another generation of healthy land and healthy living, healthy people, animals after us, it's going to take a mindset switch. It's going to take maintaining the things that we have. It's going to take building something that's going to last. It's not just the sole broke off, I'm going to throw it in the landfill real quick. It's a mind switch, and so that's what we're trying to embody here at Everlasting Ranch in our relationship with mixed boots.
That's awesome, man. I love that answer. To be honest, most people out there, yep, I got this boot, I got 3 more in process, and I'm looking at that 4th one. But I totally get it, what you're saying. I walked in last night, having been at the office with a new pair of boots in hand that I'm fit testing right now, and my wife said, another pair of boots. Like, where are these going to go? Where are they going to get worn? And so I hear you. I think that's what's really interesting as well, is with a single pair of boots, you can kind of do it all. So I love that answer. We are happy to have had the opportunity to partner with you. We've got some great footage and content that we're going to be sharing from you, which is very exciting as well. Overall, we just appreciate you putting your trust in us during a really special day, being an advocate for the brand, introducing us to other people, and using our work boots, the way they're intended. You're on a farm, you're fighting fires, just a great story. So thank you for that. Thanks for taking the time today to chat with us. Hopefully this is the beginning of even more conversations with you. But thanks a lot, Alexander. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Tate. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man.